Hey, what's up guys? Nick here, host of the Informative Fisherman Show, and today I'm speaking on behalf of Biwaa Fishing Performance about the Biwaa Tailgunner. This is a new swim bait that comes in all different sizes and different color patterns. You got the little miniatures, you got medium size, you got the big ones. But what makes this bait unique compared to other swim baits on the market? Most swim baits you see are in that profile right there, but the Tailgunner is wider than it is tall. Look at that thing, real fat, wide profile base there. So when you look at that, you say, well, why does that bait turn over? Well, Biwaa's designed it with a little keel on the tail, and look at the size of that paddle tail. That is a big old boot. This thing moves a ton of water. When it's swimming through the water, you get a massive knock, and it shifts that whole swim bait around. And the really great part about going with that miniature keel that Vince, the designer of Biwaa, did, what it does with that smaller one, instead of a bigger one, it gives the bait a lot of rocking, which is really cool. And I'm gonna show you some of my favorite ways to rig this bait. When I'm fishing around a lot of grass, I'm gonna Texas rig it with a keel hook. And a keel means just a weight on the bottom, just like the little tail right there. Now, if you see, this is about halfway back on that swim bait right there. So sometimes if you can get it to go a little bit smaller, like a 3/0 worm hook on this size bait right here, would have been right in here, and I would have got a little bit more rock out of the bait. So if you think about that, why would you need the bait to rock more versus just kick more? Well, when you get real subtle, calm, clean water, you need to move your bait slower, and the more natural movement your bait has, the more lifelike it looks, you're going to catch more fish. So this here, the reason why I have the bigger hook is I'm fishing for largemouth bass, and I'm fishing in and around grass, so the grass can come right over the top. It's very weedless, it's gonna keep that bait stable and straight, and when they come down at it, they're gonna chomp it just like so. Now, a lot of people ask me, when I'm rigging a keel hook like this, when you come through, are you pointing the hook back into the bait? No, not necessarily. I like to keep it up against the bait right there, and it comes over pretty smooth. That way, if the fish grabs it, they get hooked a lot easier. If I find that I'm getting a lot of grass stuck on that hook point, then yeah, I'm gonna go away from it. And I'll bury it right back into that swim bait. From there, we have the exposed jig head. This is the much bigger Tailgunner here. Well, I mean, look at the size of that. That's beast. I think that's the 6-inch version right there. And I would use this for stripers or big largemouth. The exposed jig head. When would I throw a Tailgunner on exposed jig head? When there's not grass around. If I'm fishing about rock and boulders, the odds of them grabbing and getting hooked up are way higher with an exposed jig head. Of course, if you want to get down deeper, you can also bounce that along the bottom, so you have that option. Really, really cool thing that I do, I was fishing a lot of deep, clear reservoirs this year that had gobies, which are, your sculpins, your common sculpin, and they were all about this size of this miniature Tailgunner. This is, I think this is the 4-inch, and they even have a 3-inch for panfish. There's tons of different sizes and colors for you to choose from. This is a little 1/4-ounce ball head jig. What I was doing is dragging this along the bottom. This bait kicks at such slow speeds, it's remarkable. And I'm dragging it along the bottom just like a little goby, and that tail's working, and I was catching a ton of big spotted bass on that boy. And one of my other favorite ways, a bladed jig, vibrating jig, chatterbait, whatever you want to call it, I say the Tailgunner is arguably the best trailer to put on a chatterbait. And the reason why, a chatterbait's vibrating, and it kind of does this through the water, and it has a little bit of roll. And when I mean roll, is just rocking side to side. But that Tailgunner also has a nice rock and roll to it. It rolls. So what it does is it really emphasizes the whole vibrating jig to come to life, not just drawing attention to the front. It brings life to the whole unit as one. So they see it as a much bigger profile, not this little shaky thing and skirt material. It really gives life to that presentation. So no matter what presentation you're using with the Tailgunner, I'm always throwing these on 100% fluorocarbon. The lighter, I'm going lighter fluorocarbon. I'll throw that on a spinning rod. Vibrating jig, I'm gonna throw it on 12 to 15 pound fluorocarbon. A bigger, heavier one, maybe 15 to 20 pound fluorocarbon. And the reason why, when you're fishing a swim bait like the Tailgunner, it has a lot of intriguing power and drawing power. Swim baits are always going to draw bass from a farther distance. The cleaner the water, the better the Tailgunner can do. It's a very, very natural, subtle moving bait with a lot of really lifelike characteristics. So you're going to feel a bump every now and then. You feel a bump. What you want to do is you want to reel faster. That's the bass striking at it. And normally when he hits a fish and wounds it, it's going to try to run off faster and it's going to look alive. Then you'll feel him grab it and load up. Once you feel that fish load up, reel down and then pull that nice hook set on that fish. Or you're going to feel slack all of a sudden. So that's why you need that fluorocarbon. If you feel the slack all of a sudden real fast, that means he came up from behind and he grabbed it and swam towards the direction you were reeling. I'm Nick, the Informative Fisherman. If you want to find out more about the Biwaa Tailgunner, visit biwaa.com. Thanks, guys.